But I'm saying it now.
But now I know, and knowing is half the battle.
The other half is a fourth of it is red lasers, and another fourth is blue lasers. The internet's never lied to me before.
And it probably never will.
Mm.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Brothers War Podcast. I'm Ryan Green.
And I'm Zack Taylor. And we talk about all things Magic, but mostly Commander.
All right. And listeners, this week is a very special episode of the Brothers War Podcast.
Very serious.
This week, we are going to have the talk. We're going to talk about all things decks and dice. The decks and the dice. And we're going to tell you about having talks about the social contract when you sit down to play a game of Magic, specifically Commander.
Yep.
So that's what we're talking about this week. Zack, why don't you do that next one?
So, just want to give a shout out to our listeners. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. And we definitely, you're why we do this, is to hopefully listen to our podcast, learn a little about Magic, maybe brighten your day up some. So
I'd go so far as to say thank you for watching too.
Right? That's true, because we are on the YouTubes now. So if you like us and you want to follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, or join us on Facebook, definitely we'd love to talk to you, and it'd be great.
So if you like us, then you should smash a ding on it.
Yep.
Yeah. On the bells with the YouTube.
Yep,
Please.
the YouTubes. So, Ryan, what has been going on in your personal life?
All right, so this is a good one. This one actually happened just before we're recording. I took both the kids and this guy here and my wife out to a Tex-Mex restaurant here in town. And it's always fun to take the kids, get to watch them eat and get to have like a night out and stuff like that. And it was pretty funny. We were kind of waiting for the table to get available, and I was carrying my son, Mal, and he was just walking around with his finger like this. He was like, I want to go touch that, or I want to see that. You know, he's pointing because he wants to, it's how he communicates. It's how he lets us know what he wants to interact with. So, I was just taking him around, and he was like grabbing a sign and almost threw it to the floor.
Oh, man, he
wait
did.
To be seated sign. But then, he would point at a person, and, I'm like, well, let's bring him over there. And then, this lady was like, oh, he's so cute. And she like smushed up his face a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was pretty cute. So, Mal, no stranger to hanging out and meeting folk. And then also, my daughter Veronica was there with us, obviously. And the restaurant that we went to has a playground outside. So after we were done eating, I got to take her out and let her just run around like a crazy person. And that she did. She was going at basically warp 9 or whatever. She was just going crazy, running around, climbing on stuff. It's really cute to see. And the best part was she was like, I get to be at the park and it's after bedtime. And she said that because, it was dark outside because we were about to adjust for daylight savings time. And so by the time y'all hear this or watch this, we will have done that. Yeah. It was just really cool and cute to watch her run around and interact with the other kids and just have her be excited about being up after bedtime. So, yeah.
Yeah, while you guys were outside, I was in the restaurant with Kelly and Mal kept doing this thing. He'd be in his high chair, and then he'd lean back like this and smile. And he would do it the waitress would be coming and walking by him. As soon as he sees her, she's leans back, and she's like, oh, hey. But it was cute.
So what's been going on with you, Zack?
Not much, man. I've just been recovering from the sleep deprivation that was MF in LA, which it was definitely worth it. But
no, MFing sleep deprivation is the worst.
It's the worst, but totally worth it. But
absolutely.
Other than that, I've just been kind of going through some of my decks, updating them a little bit, trying to get them all on a site that so I can share them with the listeners. And so I can also keep track of where some of my cards are.
So doing a little digital inventorying, as it were?
Yep, that is exactly what I've been doing. So other than that, not too much.
Well, and that digital inventorying is important. So actually, on the plane there, we kind of took some of the decks and made sure we had digital copies just in case, because, hey, maybe we'll talk about them and then folks want to see them. So good to be prepared. All right. So it's not an episode of the Brothers War podcast if we don't thank Mike Condon. There it is.
Yep.
And I'm giving you a virtual hug here. That was bad Mike etiquette, but you can see on the camera I'm hugging you. So thank you, Mike, for all that you do for the podcast. We definitely couldn't do it without you. So thank you.
Indispensable, that guy. So that brings us to the main topic.
Main topic.
I was trying to get serious and he just broke it.
DJ podcast host.
DJ Roomba. No, it's so we're talking about having the talk, and that talk being with the people that you sit down with to play a game of EDH. We want to talk about why do you want to have that talk? How does that benefit you and everyone else at the table? And the first point on that is you want to make sure everyone's on the same page as to the kind of game that you're going to play.
Viewers, when you sit down at a table to have some fun, you need to be respectful of everybody else.
It's true.
And you need to make sure everyone has a good time.
And everyone feels safe.
Was that dad voicey enough? Did I do it?
I feel like it was,
good, yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't meant to be serious. It was meant to be like a play on the words, but hey, whatever.
I mean, I thought you were my dad for a second.
Well, then I did my job.
Yep.
All right. So keep going. I'm sorry. I totally busted out your flow. My bad.
No, it's all good. So really you do this because you want to ensure everyone's going to have fun. I think if you when you do this, it's going to make everyone have a better time in Magic or people feel like Magic's more fun when they're playing close games. It never feels great to just get blown out or really to just blow someone else out. I just don't feel good doing that. I want to have close games.
Yeah, and right? I'll say this. I mean, I think that, if you were on the Family Feud, right, hosted by Steve Harvey or, Kenan Thompson playing Steve Harvey, right?
Yep.
Out of 99 or 100 people surveyed, I think a lot of them, most of them, 90 of them would say they want a good game of Magic too, right? So this is in everybody's best interest. It's not being selfish. It's not being petty. It's really, I think that if you ask folks, they would say, yeah, I want a good game of Magic. I don't want it to be lopsided. I don't want my opponents to get mana screwed. Specifically in the Commander format, right?
Absolutely.
If you're at a tournament and you need to, you're on the bubble to get into the top 8, well, maybe you don't feel so bad if your opponent has land screw because it happens to everybody. Probably happened to you earlier in the day.
Yeah.
But in Commander, that's not really a factor.
It's more of a communal game than a versus game. I feel like, if I'm doing Modern, I just want to smash that face all day. But in Commander,
Zack smash face.
No, my secret is I'm always smashing. So Ryan, why don't you tell us about some of the times that you've had the talk?
Oh, well, I'm a seasoned professional at giving the talk, and not just because I'm a dad, right? I've given the talk a lot of times. I tend to, when I sit down with a group of people, unless it's people I really know very well, I usually try to lead the focus and say, hey, what kind of game are we all looking for? Are we doing some super casual thing? Are people bringing their big dog decks to really throw down? Is it are you testing something out new? Just kind of have the discussion and really just open it up to the floor and maybe kind of ease people into talking about it because sometimes it is hard to talk about it. But, I had the talk a ton of times at MF Los Angeles, right? And every time we go to the local store here, Mothership, Austin, Texas, represent
the ship.
The ship. I talk to people and I say, hey, are we doing a combo thing? Is what are we all looking for? And I think that really does set the stage for everyone to feel more engaged and maybe more open to being open, honest, and transparent, which is going to make everyone else have a better time.
Yeah, and honestly, before I saw you do it, this is not something I hadn't considered doing. It just didn't. I never thought about it. So when playing in public with people I didn't know, I always just was okay, I'm going to play my most powerful deck and
pull it out, stick it down.
Yeah, and just see what happens. But, I saw Ryan and I was that's a great, I've started doing it games, even when Ryan's not there with me. I'm playing by myself with people at Mothership or
the talk is going viral.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Like, I'm just like, hey, like, what are y'all playing? You know, things like that. So, some of the questions, you know, that you could ask when having the talk, you know, you can ask, you know, what level do you think your deck is power wise on like scale of 1 to 10? You know.
Yeah, that's the traditional question, right?
Yeah.
But you know, we'll get into it a little bit later. Why that's a tough question,
Right. Some other questions that are a little more specific. You know, are you running combos? You know, how fast do you usually win? Are we looking at like 3-turn kill or like more of a 10-turn game? You know, how long do your games usually last? And then one of my favorite questions is, are you playing mass land destruction?
We got any MLD representatives in the house?
Right. It's like, are you playing Smothering Tides, the MLD Boros? Like, what? But these are things. And, you know, I think that sometimes it's hard to do that. And for me, like, I definitely have some anxiety problems sometimes. And it's hard for me to bring that up, you know, when I'm talking with just complete strangers. But, you know, I realized that it's something I had to overcome because it makes it, the more you do it, it's easier to bring it up in the future. You know, the more you do something, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically practice makes perfect here, right? Like,
Right.
the more you do it, the better you'll get at it, and it's like exercising a muscle, right? Like, and if you make it a habit to do this,
Right.
you'll find yourself doing it. You know, in the bathtub, talking to yourself, you'll just be like,
true.
"Hey, when I play EDH later, what kind of game am I looking for?"
Right.
Because, you know, and also like what kind of game I'm looking for changes, right?
It's true.
Sometimes I make a brand new deck and I'm like, "Oh man, this thing looks great. I got to really check it out."
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, "Man, I'm just in it for the giggles tonight. Let's break open the fun bank." So, you know, it will change over time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think being the one who initiates this talk helps people, it helps establish a reputation for you as someone who is trying to have a fun / fair game with people and who isn't just trying to go crazy.
Well, and another point here is that it shows that you care about
Absolutely.
the other people and that you respect, you know, the
Yeah.
hobby, right? Like, it's saying, hey, I don't want to waste anyone's time. I want to have fun, and I know you want to have fun, right?
Yeah.
So let's all have fun together and
Yeah.
let's figure out the best way to do that.
Exactly.
And so, you know, you'd already talked about that it's kind of hard to do this if you're, you know, not, you know, if you're maybe a little more introverted, you know, not as boisterous and outgoing. And it can be hard, right?
Yeah.
And, but there, you know, the other thing is, you know, maybe you're the new person in town and you feel like you're kind of on the outside, right? Everybody there at the shop is like high-fiving each other and like giving everybody a hug and like talking about what they had for breakfast and, you know, like, oh, how's your cat doing? You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, it might be hard if you're the new person to kind of get in there and lead this, but I think you should.
And I think people will respect you for it as well.
I think that's true, yeah.
So definitely be having the talk. So next, we're going to be talking about an issue people bring up sometimes.
We are on the internet and we have heard this.
Yes, I mean, you know, these eyes are on the pulse of the internet. It's just,
and I can see it. I can see the pulse. I don't feel it with my fingers. I'm looking.
Yeah, like
just like you're looking right now.
Exactly, at us. So, you know, there's a kind of a myth about pub stomping, and first I want to define what that is, and this is kind of the origins of this term. I took this off of Urban Dictionary, one of the foremost places to find the meanings of words. I don't even use Webster's anymore. I just go straight to Urban Dictionary. And the definition is when an organized team of friends or clan members play against a team of pubs or random people who join a public server. You know, so there's this myth that, and it does happen sometimes, I'm sure, but a myth of someone, you know, coming in and just wrecking a game. Like, you know, you have like, you know, it's me, Ryan, you know, Elliot, Brandon, my roommate, and then, you know, they're playing all fair decks, and then I just come in with Lord Windgrace and just smash their faces, right?
Lord Windgrace smashing the face.
So, you know, I don't I don't think that happens nearly as much as people may think it does. I think most people come to the table with good intentions, the same intentions you have, and to have fun.
Well, and it's like we said earlier, I think that most people, if you ask, they want an actual game, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that it's really fun for the people that get quote unquote pub stomped. And I'm pretty sure it's not super fun for the stomper.
No.
Or the stompee, right? Like I don't think that's fun, but maybe there's probably some edge cases where there are folks that do that. But I think that in general, our community kind of discourages that pretty heavily. And so I think people that kind of those niche cases, they probably get kind of, at least like asked to change or ousted a little bit, or ostracized is the word I want.
Like we were talking about earlier, I think tables will self-police that kind of action. So, if I come out swinging something crazy with Lord Windgrace, these other 3 people I'm playing are going to obviously recognize that and most likely band together to form an alliance to destroy me. I mean, that happens anyway, but, in this particular hypothetical situation, I think that's what happened. It would be a self-policing thing.
Indeed. All right. So I will say that I think sometimes there's this feeling that CEDH or competitive EDH players can get a bad rap about this. And I will say this. I don't really play a lot of CEDH, right? I'm definitely your typical casual. I mean, I have decks that are good, and I have decks that are powerful, and I have decks that have expensive cards in them. But I'm not I don't tune my decks to go off, and they're not full of tutors.
Right.
And it's I am looking to have fun, and I do enjoy the variance of our format.
Absolutely.
And the CEDH players, they're it's more kind of closer to legacy play.
I would say vintage.
Vintage. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. Like a t-shirt. Yeah. But I will say that, I don't think that there's this CEDH boogeyman out there, trying to find local game stores to go and do their thing. I just don't think that happens. And I will say, like I said, I don't play a lot of CEDH. I did play some one-on-one Commander on MTGO back in the day.
Done that.
And that, it's one-on-ones. There is no such thing. Everybody's just going hardcore, super spiky. And it wasn't really for me. It's kind of fun to change it up your style a little bit every now and again. But I don't think there's people out there doing this. And I mean, maybe it does happen every now and again. But like I said, I personally haven't run into this, right? I've gone to our local store. I've gone to Magic Fest and GPs, and usually there's this spirit of community, and I somebody that would be doing this kind of thing really wouldn't be fitting into that spirit of community, and so I think that when this happens, I think it's probably accidental.
Absolutely, and the thing about CEDH players, I think they're the same as casual EDH players in that they want to play a fair game, right? A CEDH player comes and just smashes a table of 3 other people. I don't think that's going to be fun for them, right? They want to play against decks or people who are playing in the same spirit that they are, the same way that we want to play with people playing in the same spirit we are. There's different kinds of Magic. There's different formats. There's different ways to play, and they're all valid. There's nothing wrong with any of them. It's just a different way to play than we, personally do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, Magic is a game for everyone,
exactly,
right? And so just because somebody wants to play a different way than you do doesn't mean that it's invalid.
Absolutely.
Neither one is wrong, right? That's the greatest thing about Magic is that it can be all these different things to all these different people. Yep. And actually, it's fun to kind of change your persona every now and again. Yeah. It's fun to go do the super competitive thing sometimes, right? It's fun to go booster draft, right? It's but I mean, nothing's as good as Commander, but hey, that's just my opinion. And that doesn't mean that it's your opinion, right? So that's kind of the whole point of this, right? We should all remember that Magic is for everyone.
Yeah. So moving on, we're going to talk about how to evaluate your deck. Personally, this is something that, it's kind of a murky area. And
10 out of 10 would play again.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely how I rate Ryan on Tinder. Swiping right.
No, I mean, it's really hard to be scientific about this, right?
It is, yeah. Because what's powerful, what I consider powerful, Ryan may not consider as powerful.
That is a true statement. Yeah.
So and there's a lot of things that can sway that, but what I've often found is most people generally speaking, say their decks are between a 6 and an 8. That's average.
Yeah, I think that's pretty true. Yeah,
and I don't think that they're saying that, and sometimes their decks aren't between a 7 or an 8 or 6 and an 8. Maybe they're higher, maybe they're a little lower. I don't think this is malicious behavior. It's just, again, there's not really a standardized. You can't take your deck to the guy with the jeweler and be like, oh no, this is a grade 6
this is
deck.
Clearly an 8.635%.
Yeah,
deck.
It's a blue tinted crystal clear diamond, whatever. It's kind of hard to tell because there's a lot of nuances in what makes a deck powerful. It can be super consistent.
Yeah, that's going to ratchet you up on the scale, right? Like if your deck's full of tutors or just a lot of redundancy, or a common theme, and there's tons of cards that do the same kind of effect, and your deck's chock full of them.
Yep.
The more consistent it is, probably the higher up on the scale it should be.
Absolutely. Next is it super tuned? Have you put a lot of really good cards with a lot of really powerful synergy in there, and you don't have a lot of chaff. It's all power.
Right, or you've played it a whole bunch, and you've okay, these cards don't perform so well. Let's take them out. Let's put these new ones in.
Right.
All right, just kind of slowly but steadily ramping up the power of your deck. That's going to push you a little bit up higher on the scale as well, right?
Yep. Another one is this a tribal deck? If you're running 6 CMC tribal, as I saw in an article, you never know where that's going to fall. But maybe you're running Edgar Margal vampires. That's going to be a little high.
That could be a super, super good deck. But then again, you could be like running tribal goats, just for the lulls. And, maybe that's going to lower you down on the scale a little bit, right? So, I mean, tribal is one of those things where it's like you're intentionally handicapping yourself a little bit or like giving yourself a theme to work towards.
Right.
And so oftentimes that may make your deck like a little more focused, but maybe a little less powerful because
you're sticking to that theme.
Yeah. And the creatures you're putting in there are good, but they're not like the best in slot. Right.
So another thing, and this is, we do this in League to help our decks be more equally powered. Is this based on a budget? We're doing Brawl this season, and we did. You start with $50 and you build a deck, right? So I think one of this would be like if you're playing your budget found sort of deck, maybe that's not going to do super well against a super tuned, super consistent deck. I guess it depends on how deep your collection is and what you can find.
Well, right. And the other thing about budget is, in general, like, you're making trade-offs, right? Like, you're not playing the best in slot cards. You're playing some cards that are close or functionally similar, but maybe, a couple more mana than they should be. And so that's going to kind of lower the rating of your deck, right? So, I mean, it's not to say budget decks can't be good. They can be.
Absolutely.
I've played against one. I played against one in MF Los Angeles, right? It was a $25 budget mono black deck with Shire Shizo's Caretaker at the front.
Nice.
And like that deck was good. It was like an Aristocrats like mono black thing, and it like got rolling like really well. So it's not to say that budget decks can't be powerful. It's just that on average, this is kind of like a rule of thumb.
Yeah, generally speaking. Another thing, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but the decks can be based on a theme or a story or a character.
Getting Vorthos up in here.
Right. Ryan has a Oops Jace deck where every card has either a picture of Jace or a quote of Jace, even the lands. And the decks, Ryan claims it's not that good. I think it's probably D's, maybe a 5-ish. I don't know. But like,
the problem is that it's not focused, right? And there's no win conditions. Like that's the real rough part about it. It's like, well, there's I'm playing Phantom Warrior, like a 2/2 unblockable is not going to get the job done.
So like those things you're narrowing you're focusing instead of on winning, you're focusing on like the theme
and flavor,
the character and the flavor, and those decks can be super fun. I've made flavor decks, and I think they're cool. I'm personally working on a flavor deck fairies.
And when you can hit that sweet spot and you've got the flavor deck that's like a 6.5 and it really kind of gets in there, or a 7, it's like it's flavorful, but it's also good. Oh, that's my favorite.
That is super good. So I've said this before, already, and I think it bears repeating. I don't think people are intentionally dishonest when they say the power of their decks, right? I mean, I'll be honest, when I say the power of my decks, I usually say 7 or 8. Sometimes they may be higher. I mean, they may be a little lower, but I'd rather err on the side of saying it's a little higher and not like going nuts than saying it's low and then going crazy.
Yeah, you'd rather overrate it and then kind of, not like break the game or something.
Right. And another thing is people.
There's a bias here, right?
Yeah. There are different metas. So maybe in our like league group, in our our friend group, my deck does super well, and so I'm like, oh, this deck's a 9. I'm beating I beat Ryan Green, right? And
sure, yeah.
So I went to my game store and they're like, well, we're having the talk, and I'm like, this deck's a 10, because the meta's different, right? Well,
this deck is an Austin 10,
right? And then you go to the game store and it's like, oh, this deck is a Mothership 4. Turns out being Ryan Green wasn't that hard.
I mean, I do, intentionally try to not make my decks like on the higher end of the power scale, right?
Yeah. I try to keep mine sort of high, not like between 6 and 7 is where I go. Like, I don't run a lot of fetches. I don't run a lot of redundancy. I try to just, and Brian, you can attest, when I first started playing EDH, I was trying to combo hard and get every piece of that combo and be something that's super convoluted, and like, it just wasn't fun for me to play. It wasn't fun for other people to play.
I think, this bears like a little bit of discussion, which is, you came from playing Modern, right? And that is a very like spiky, cutthroat format. It's also one-on-one. And
yeah,
when you come from that and that's what and it's the cards you have even, right? Like, so, this is an evolution over time kind of situation. So, I don't know. I think, people definitely aren't going to get this right. And I would say you and I don't get this right all the time, right?
No, I don't think so either. And I think you can, over time, after playing a deck for a while and seeing how it fares against other people, you can start to fine tune the rating of your deck in your mind. I think, if you're just always going nuts on people and just winning, maybe you should start ranking a little bit higher. But
over time, the performance of your deck kind of indicates if you're underrating or overrating it, right? So like if you're just winning all the time, like if your deck has like a 40% win rate, it's probably higher than you think, right?
Yeah.
On any given game, you really should only 4-player games really only have about 25% chance to win, and 40 is almost double that. So, it's just something to keep in mind over time. You kind of, the more you play a deck, the more dialed in you can get on its power level. So, I thought it'd be fun if you and I talked about some of our decks and gave the listeners and viewers at home kind of an insight into how we decide like what numbers we put on a deck.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Do you want to go first or should I?
Why don't you go first?
All right, so recently, we released a video about this deck, right? So if you want to go check that deck out, I encourage you to do so. There's video of it, and I think it was a pretty fun video.
I will definitely link it at the end of this video.
This is my deck, which I call Mr. OPC, and the Mr. is mono red, and the OPC is other people's cardboard. So this is my Grenzo Havoc Razor deck, and it is mono red, so already that's going to kind of ratchet down the score a little bit. At least it's not Boros, I guess.
Right.
But so here are the things that I think about when I put a number to this deck. So the number that I give it is between like a 6 and a 6.5. And the reason I do that is because it does have powerful cards in it, but like it's also playing to a theme, right? Like other people's cards or playing cards off the top of your deck, right? So it's got cards in it that are kind of bad. Like Dark Dweller Oracle is, it's going to show up on the screen, but it's, it's a 2-mana 2/2 that you can spend 1 and sacrifice a creature and then exile the top card of your library, and you can play it until end of turn. So fun. Like that's my kind of fun.
Yeah.
Not super powerful. It is a goblin, so I think I can fetch it with Goblin Matron. And I do have a tutor in there in Goblin Matron, but
Goblin Chump Blocker.
That's right, Goblin Chumps. But yeah, I think I only have like 4 or 5 goblins in the deck, and it's a slight utility package, but it's not a big deal. So what else? The deck does have some powerful cards in it, like some really powerful cards, like Mindslaver. This card ends games, and it's a really good card.
Oh.
But it's a one-shot in my deck. I don't have any way to recur it, and I don't have any way to tutor for it. So there's going to be games where it shows up, and basically I think, the higher variance your deck is, probably the lower it is on the rating scale, right? So I will say, I also have a Gauntlet of Might in that deck, and it is a very powerful card. It's a very expensive card. I'm lucky to have one from a long time ago, and, it's a 4-mana artifact that makes all your mountains tap for 2 red, and all of your red creatures get +1/+1. Actually, I think it's everybody's mountains and everybody's red creatures, but who else is crazy enough to be playing a mono red deck? Actually, there's a lot of us out there, and we're coming for you.
There are literally dozens of you.
But yeah, so I mean, Gauntlet of Might's a huge, powerful card, so that's going to ratchet the number up a little bit. But then again, I'm playing cards like Indomitable Creativity, and this card is it's like X red, and you basically chaos warp a whole bunch of creatures and artifacts, and it's a very high variance card. It's fun. Fun stories happen when you play that card. So, and again, I just put it in there because it's a card I wanted to try out. And when you're playing with cards that aren't proven or that have high variance, it's just gonna kind of like make your deck a little more in the mid-rangey action. So what else? But the deck also has Insurrection. So sometimes you just draw that and you're like, oops, I win. So the deck is powerful, and that's why I'm like not putting it at a 5. And right. I mean, maybe it's a 7. I don't know, right? But it, it's a 6.5 ±1, right? So it's either a 5.5 to a 7.5, somewhere in there. Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of how I came up with the rating.
Right, and the deck that I'm going to talk about, it's my Saheeli deck. I've spoken about it a few times. It's I'd say it's about a 7.5 to an 8. You think that's right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty fair.
I definitely have some pretty powerful cards in there. I'm going to say this card, and I hope that the collective groan of the internet just doesn't wipe us out, but I'm playing Paradox Engine in there.
Man, that card's Paradox Engine good.
Yeah, it is just nuts.
Shout out to my boys at Command Zone. It's a fun phrase.
So I'm playing that. I'm playing was it Darksteel Forge? That's the one that makes all artifacts indestructible.
Oh yeah.
I'm playing Microsynth Lattice that makes everything an artifact.
Now nothing's going away. Right. It's all here to stay.
And then I'm playing Nevinyrral's Disc. So theoretically, I can put that on a turn, cast another spell, untap it, pop the disc. Well, not really tap the disc, and then all my artifacts are fine, and your board is gone. There's a lot of really crazy synergies in it.
Actually, I'm not even sure the disc taps. I think you might just be able to just pay one, just over and over again, just like, all right. And if everything is an artifact from Microsynth Lattice, like, but only your artifacts are indestructible, it's like,
yeah,
everybody else's board is gone.
Yeah.
And yours is fine. Like, there's some very powerful stuff. I mean, I think the other thing that pushes the power level up is like, you've put a lot of ramp in there to get Saheeli out like real early.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of artifact ramp. And another thing is, I do have some artifact tutors, Trinket Mage.
Is Fabricated there?
I believe so.
Aha. Ye oldie classic artifact tutor, yep.
I'd say there are about 3, and they're not something I rely on. But sometimes, if I'm kind of getting somewhere, I'm like, well, something else would be nice, and I go grab it.
Well, and I mean, I think the thing is that this deck can get out to a really big early start.
Yeah, it really can.
Right, like you can play, like you got the artifact lands going, and you've got like some early mana rocks and stuff. It's something like a turn 3 Saheeli happens, and you're like, oh, my next artifact costs 4 less, and boom, you like drop down something to defend Saheeli, and then next turn it's like, oh, okay, I play another thing, do a thing, got some Thopters, and now my next card costs 9 less, and I have like a turn 5, all my stuff's indestructible. Like,
yeah, and
you can get out some really busted starts.
Yep, I agree. And I think, no, it's not that deck that has that. Never mind.
Yeah, don't worry about that. So what else? I mean, like, you think closer to the 7.5 or the 8? What do you think?
Probably closer to the 8. Like, I've definitely like looked at EDH track and been like, what are the coolest cards that I want.
Oh, and I mean, you definitely have put work into this deck too,
Yeah.
right? It's been refined, and that's going to kind of make the power level of the deck creep up over time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been playing it since the beginning of basically since it came out at the end of 2018. And, we played it for a season of League. And then after that, I just kept refining and kept refining. And I put a lot of time into it. And it's a deck I'm really proud of. But,
well, and you've put some money into it too, right? Like you've bought some cards like specifically for this deck.
Yep.
I will say also, this deck, 7.58, but maybe like a 4 after a Vandal Blast. Like that is a card that
my goodness.
Way down.
Yeah, Vandal Blast just wrecks me. I'm just like, someone's like, overload Vandal Blast. So I'm like, okay, let's put these cards up.
I didn't want to play this game anyway.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to go get some food now. I'll be back.
All right, so that's how we define the power levels of our decks and some good examples. And I guess there's going to be a link in the non-existent show notes to both of those decks. So
what are show notes?
Yeah, exactly. But listeners, watchers, viewers, people, take a look at our decks and let us know what you think the ratings are. I think that'd be kind of fun,
that would
right?
be awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
These aren't show notes. It's just a picture of Josh Lee Kwai. He watches over us.
All right, so Zach, how do you prepare for playing with people you don't know at your local game store or at a big event?
Take my anxiety medicine.
Good call.
Yep. No, one thing I definitely do is I understand that there are going to be different people there with different kinds of decks looking for different kinds of games. So, I don't just be like, oh, let me put my Saheeli in the bag. I put my Saheeli in the bag. I put, decks of varying power. When we went to LA, I brought a straight up precon because, I've definitely said on this podcast before that the precons are great.
Absolutely.
You buy all 4 and it is literally a league in a box, right? And there are going to be people who are new to Magic.
It's a league in a box.
So, if I'm playing with these guys, I don't want to blow them out of the water, with Saheeli or something else. Like, that's not fun for them. It's not fun for me. And it turns them off to the game. And if you guys know our hearts on this, that's not what we want. It's the exact opposite of what we want to do.
Right. And I mean, this is something we've been talking about for a long time, right? Like if you go back and listen to our episode with Dan Krause, right?
Yep.
Prepping for a GP with Danny K. That episode we talk about bringing decks with varying power levels, and it's good advice, and I do it, right? I bring like some new fun creation. I love bringing new decks to tournaments because I have no idea how they're going to go, and they're certainly not tuned, right? They're just like that first iteration, so they're going to be a little lower on the power level, but it's always fun to play the new deck. I really get into it. Like at MFLA, I brought Vile Smasher Thrasios, and I only got to play it once. But it was good.
Yeah, it was.
But I don't know how good it was, but I did spend a lot of time on it, a lot of time thinking about it. So I think that does tend to raise the power level a little bit too.
I think so.
But I also brought my, Gonti deck, and I brought, Granzo that we talked about, and I brought my Knight Tribal deck, Ariel Knight of Windgrace.
Didn't you win a game with that?
No.
I thought you did.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's a fun deck. But it has trouble closing out the game, and it also can't win except by the combat step, which is a pretty big detriment.
Do you have Elspeth there?
I don't. I should.
The one that makes the +1 makes 3 soldiers?
You mean Elspeth's Sun's Champion?
Yes, I do.
No, I don't think Elspeth is in there. I should put that in there. Okay, so what else can...
Do you have Gildor Outpost?
Gildor Outpost? No, I don't believe so.
Get it in your deck.
Get it in my deck. All right, so what else can you do if you're going to go to an LGS or, an MF? What else can the listeners and viewers at home do to prepare themselves for, this kind of stuff?
Be prepared to have the talk that we've been discussing this is episode. Look in the mirror and practice. Look yourself in the eyes and be like, Zack, what? And you have to say Zack. It doesn't work otherwise. Pretend this is a mirror. Zack, what level deck are you playing? Are you running mass land destruction? How many turns do you win in? You just practice it. It's like anything else.
Listeners, you should really go check that one out on YouTube. It was a fun little bit.
It's great. Like, You should definitely check it out on YouTube. And the thing is, when I'm having this talk in the mirror, I'm obviously wearing the tuxedo I wore to my senior prom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Powder blue.
And or a Darth Vader helmet.
I mean, why not both? But
what is the power level of your deck? Oh, my Darth Vader is terrible. But so I would say, listener, viewer out there, be prepared to initiate this conversation. And I know that that's like hard to hear, but
it is.
I think that if you practice it and if you do it, it gets easier over time. And the more you do it, the better your games will be, or at least the better you'll feel about them anyway. Right. And maybe the better your opponents will feel about them as well. And I want to say, like, lead by example here.
Yeah.
Just be ready to do it. And I don't think I've ever had a time where I walked up to a group and we sat down to play, and I was like, "Hey, what kind of things are you guys expecting here?"
Yeah.
I've never had my head bitten off for that, or even gotten any strange looks. Everybody's like, "Oh, cool, let's talk about this." Right?
For real.
But oftentimes, I am the one that initiates it, and I think that our community and our game would be better if more people were willing to do it.
Absolutely, and this is coming on a very serious note. Like, I do have anxiety about things, and this is something now that I do every time. I had to work my way up to being able to just say it to random people. But like Ryan said, I've never had negative feedback. It's always been worth it. And the more you do it, the less anxiety you'll have about it. So, the thing is, when you ask this question, I can almost guarantee everyone else at the table is wondering in their heads these same exact questions.
It's true. It's like you're in class, you know, and like you have that question, but you don't want to stand up in front of the group and ask it of the professor, right? It's that same kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know, it's an icebreaker. This is how you make friends.
Indeed. All right. So, listeners and viewers, we thought it would be a fun little thing to do here to kind of role play having the talk here. Zach and I doing the talk here. So, this is probably going to work a little better in the video format, but listeners, I respect my car listeners, hopefully this is okay. So we'll hold on. Getting character.
All right. So in this, you're my dad, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And or just some random person at a game store.
So you're my dad.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So here we go. Okay. So hi, my name's Ryan.
Hey, I'm Zach.
Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too, man.
Thanks for sitting down to play a game of Commander with me.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
So, do you have any expectations for this game? Like, are there any things that you want to tell me up front?
Not really. I definitely want to have fun. This deck I brought, it's I'm playing Muldrotha as my commander. I wouldn't say it was an overly powerful deck. It's made out of cards. I just kind of found around my apartment. My collection is a little deep, but again, I don't think I'm doing anything crazy here. There's no combos or anything like that. What about you?
Okay, well, I actually, that's good. So I've got a couple of decks with me here. I've got like 3 or 4. Judging by what you said, I think a deck that would be a good match for this game is my Gonti Lord of Luxury deck. It's also a found deck with cards that were just around my house, and it's got no particular theme other than casting my commander, and it's just full of good cards. So I think it might match up nicely.
Yeah, so is this like a black good stuff deck kind of?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I definitely like to play that. That sounds good. How do you feel about me playing Muldrotha?
Oh, yeah, I think it sounds great. I'm interested to see how it goes. I've heard good things about the Tide Pod.
Right? All right, well, let's do this then.
All right, shuffle them up.
Yep.
So there you go. That was an example of having the talk. Hopefully it wasn't a little... Hopefully it was over the top. I'll say that. You know what? I have fun here, and we have fun, and hopefully y'all have fun listening. So
absolutely.
So yeah, okay. So one other thing we just wanted to kind of hit up is that our local game store, the Mothership, has Commander nights on Thursday nights. But
they've instituted a second day.
Yeah, they're doing
Sunday afternoons.
Yeah, and it's specifically called out, like in the literature and on the website and all that stuff, to be casual Commander. And the idea here is you're not supposed to bring your 8s and your 9s. Probably we're looking more in the 4 to 5 range or the 1 to 2 range. Like pre-cons should come here. People that are just like, I want to play my Flower Tribal deck or all arts of people facing left, right? Like whatever it is, like bring something fun and also show up with the attitude that we're all here to play and enjoy. It's not supposed to be super spiky.
Yep.
And I think it's really cool that our store is kind of doing this thing where they're kind of doing both ends of the spectrum, because I think maybe, the Thursday nights have gotten a little bit more competitive,
I
right?
think so, yeah.
But that's okay too.
Yeah, there's
right?
nothing wrong with that.
I actually kind of like the fact that I have a place where I can take my Vile Thrasher deck to let it spread its wings and fly, as it were. So, I really do like being able to have both things, right? Like sometimes I want pizza, sometimes I want a sandwich, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I want a taco.
Sometimes I want Totino's pizza rolls too. So who knows? That's like a pizza in a sandwich. But yeah, so I just think that it's really cool that our store is doing this thing to open it up and especially make an inviting play space for newer people. Because here's the secret, right? More people playing our game and new people coming in to play our game is better for everyone.
Absolutely.
Right? And the fact that our store is like fostering that is super great. And I encourage, listeners out there, maybe have a conversation with your LGS and maybe see if something like this makes sense too, right? Especially if you are getting on the more spiky end of things, because what we don't want is to have this super spiky, really competitive thing where people are kind of nervous and afraid to show up, or they show up and have a bad experience, right?
Right.
And I think that if we all do this, having the talk more, I think that's going to make it a more open and inviting space, even for those newer players, even if it is a more competitive environment.
Right, because the thing is, like, you get to know people the more you hang out, and you know that they're playing, 7s and 8s, and you're like, well, I only like to really play and build like 4 to 5s. All the 4 to 5 people start to know who they are, and they start playing together. Whereas, the 7s, 8s start running out who they are and start playing together, and in that way, everyone has, they get the game that they're looking for and are having fun, and no one feels put out.
Well, and honestly, I feel like this is just something that happens organically,
I
right?
agree.
Like, just people
this just expedites it.
Yeah, people have more fun playing, and so they kind of gravitate to the people that they have more fun playing with, and you kind of get these like stradiations. I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that word, but
sure,
like these lines that are kind of like siloing, the different groups, but people kind of move back and forth between those silos too. So I guess in summary here, we all want to play good games of Magic. We all want to have fun playing Magic, and I think that if everyone adopts this idea of being open and willing to sit down and have a discussion before the game begins, that it's just going to make the format better. It's going to make the game better, and it's going to lead to everyone having more fun. And I think that's really what it's all about.
Exactly.
All right. So there you have it.
Yep.
Having the talk, the decks and the dice. That's the talk, right? So Zach, tell the viewers at home how to get a hold of us.
Well, if you're on the World Wide Web with Netscape Navigator, you can go to our website at brotherswarcast.com.
That's the one.
Yep. If you're seeing this, you probably already know this, but if you're listening to this and want to see this, you can
and you do want to see this.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Like, just hands down, you want to see it. You can go to youtube.com/c/brotherswarpodcast. Facebook, you can find us at facebook.com/groups/brotherswarcast. Again, that's one of the places I hang out. We have discussions, talk about decks. You want to, find out more about our decks, or you want help looking at one of your decks or ideas, or just want to show us something cool, definitely join up. And
we do love cool things. That's for sure. Yeah.
I like cool things a lot.
You can email us directly at mail@brotherswarcast.com, on Twitter at brotherswarcast, individually on Twitter. I'm at Green Geek.
And I'm at Z4CK38.
All right. So if you made it this far, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for watching. Your support means the world to us.
Yep.
Please remember to like this video. Hit that thumbs up button to like it. Subscribe, please, also. And then, don't forget to, what did I say here? Ring a ding ding that bell. Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. And when you do that lets you know when we put out new content. We're doing the podcast, but we're also going to be periodically putting up other videos.
Yeah, we've got some in the works too.
Yeah, we're working on some reviews, things like that. So we definitely want you to be able to keep up with all that if you want to.
And you know what? If there's some sort of review or some sort of video content that you're looking for, please let us know.
Yeah.
We're really open to that kind of
Absolutely.
stuff. We really want to give you what you want to see.
Exactly. And we're doing it for you, and so we want to do what you want within reason, obviously. Within reason.
Sure. All right. So thank you again so much for letting us be a part of this wonderful community.
Yep.
And so until next week, this is Ryan saying geek out.